Greetings, this is Skylar Saunders Singh. What's current? Get your loud packs, roll up them packs, roll up the good packs for the late, great Phil Donahue. This was a man who interviewed Ayn Rand twice. Now, um, Mike Wallace interviewed her twice, but he interviewed her with Mickey Spillane in an interview one time. So it was like 1.5. So he interviewed her twice, two full hour-long interviews that covered everything in philosophy, metaphysics, the nature of existence, epistemology, the science of knowledge, ethics, the science of morality, politics, defining a proper social system, and aesthetics, the nature of art. So he covered all of those bases with Ayn Rand, and it was a spectacular. It was one. It was a defining moment for me to find on YouTube those interviews because they were very. Some parts got contentious, and there was a part in I think Deadline magazine that said that Ayn Rand was rude. She wasn't the rude one. The rude one was the woman that was interrupting and trying to say how she wasn't, and she was properly called a hippie, and that was a derogatory term at the late 70s. It was the 60s. She'd be like, "Oh yeah, thanks, great," but no, not by the late 1970s. You tell somebody they're a hippie. That's a definite term of showing that you're disregard for them. But Phil Donahue, I can't cry. I can't cry over him. He was a white man who made millions of dollars in America, lived to the age of 88. I mean, come on now. This is not that hard. This is not that difficult to imagine. How you don't have to shed a tear for this man, even though I have respect for him, but I'm not going to shed a tear for him. He had a great life. He lived it completely, and I definitely encourage people to trace his line. He was a pioneer. He was a leader before there was Oprah and Montel and Ricky Lake and Raphael. What was his name? Cy Jesse Raphael and Rosie O'Donnell and all these talk shows. Even people on now, Tamron Hall and what's her name? I can't think of her name right now, but they have all these talk shows from Drew Barrymore. I mean, just totally different concepts and different subject matter and totally different guests. He had everybody. He had atheists to ride or die, Christians that were against abortion and stuff like that. He had the whole gamut. He ran the entire show on the principles and on the back of questioning, just research, questioning, understanding what it was, that the guests, what they represented, and he had it all packed, into it. And Ayn Rand even, gave him a nod. She gave him a special saying. She said, you're a good adversary. You ask, good questions, and she appreciated that. So, the 1982, I think not 1982. That's when she passed away. I think it was 1980. The first one was 1979. The second one was 1980. And the 1980 interview, she said it was very playful almost. It was like he said, "You're an atheist," and she was like, "Yes," or I'm paraphrasing. She was like, "Yes, I'm an atheist," and he's just like, "Tisk tisk tisk," he was like, and she's like, "I could do the same to you," and got a reaction from the audience like, "Whoa!" That was like really. She was very quick on her feet and very she was quick and and warm and very incisive and very uh, strong in speaking for herself. So she had a great adversary in Phil Donahue. That's what I think. She had a great somebody to spar with, and she got her points across. She got everything that she wanted to say. Still rings today. They were talking about the Middle East and how people are how it's such a savage land, except for Israel primarily. only really. Um, I mean, they had a talk about oil and prices and the nature of Charlie's Angels. I mean, like I said, it went from everything from existence to art. And he wondered why she liked Charlie's Angels so much. She was like, because it is romantic. It's about these beautiful women doing extraordinary things. That's romance. That's great. That's excellence in art. Now it's not deep. It wasn't like they were writing Dostoevsky every time they had an episode or something like that. But the spirit was there. The spirit of the ideal of romanticism was conveyed in each and every episode. But they talked about many things. They talked about how the question I'll give you the question about the woman that was called a hippie, because she was like, I will answer that question if somebody rational, I'm paraphrasing, somebody rational would like to ask it. So she was like completely dismissing her because she was being rude and very indignant and ugly towards Ayn Rand, and that was completely uncalled for. So I just am focusing on the Ayn Rand interviews. But Donahue had a whole career. Like I said before, all the other talk show hosts, he started just with just a few people around him, his team, and they branched out and they built up into something extraordinary and wonderful. And I think that should be his hallmark, the fact that he interviewed Ayn Rand, a genius, probably one of the only geniuses he actually interviewed. There weren't too many, I think, but very intelligent people, very brilliant people. But she is actually a genius he interviewed. So definitely revolutionized my life. And I time to time, go back to these different interviews, and he said to Ayn Rand, don't be so sensitive. And she was like, I will. I will be sensitive to these are my ideas, these are my thoughts, this is my philosophy. I will regard it and completely say what I have to say and think what I have to think and continue from there on. That's the power of Ayn Rand. Now, Donahue, he interviewed, I think he had gang leaders on his show. He had, I think, transgender people on his show. He had, like I said, Bible thumping Christians and atheists, either on the show at the same time or on the show at separate times. He had it all. He had an entire range, and the greatest thing was that he had the questions. He didn't just ask frivolous, what were you thinking about with this, when you were 6 years old or something like that. He had pointed questions that pertain to the reality of what his interviewee, what was on their mind, and he challenged himself and the audience to know. He had primarily a female audience. He knew his numbers. He knew his data and his reach and his metrics. He knew that he even explained one time to Ayn Rand. He was saying, like, it takes a long time to try to get these kind of people onto my show. And she's just like, I think she just shrugged. Atlas shrugged, Ayn Rand shrugged, But he was a class act. I remember when his shows came on TV, when my grandparents watched him and my parents watched him. I was like 5 or 6 when I watched Phil Donahue. Then I just kind of lost. I didn't realize I didn't pay attention to him. I think he had a show on MSNBC or somewhere like that, or CNN or somewhere, and it got canceled. It didn't go anywhere. But I'm sure he still had millions in the bank. I'm sure he still had his love of his life, his wife for 44 years. Obviously, some kind of good thing came from that. His love of his wife for all those decades. I mean, that's extraordinary. Ra's coming in with the obligatory like. 100. Salute to you, sir. Thanks for the like. Then he bows out. He gets out of here real quick. Yeah, so it takes a lot of power and might and time and research and education and of yourself and finding out who you're talking to. And he had to do this, I think, daily. I think he had like 5 shows a day before Oprah, before any of these people, before whatever. I'm gonna look up her name, by the way, the person I'm trying to think of. Jennifer Hudson, J Hud. Jennifer Hudson, her talk show. Everybody's got a talk show. Tamron Hall, Ellen DeGeneres, everybody had a talk show. It's like the new talk show is, of course, the podcast. Everybody has a podcast, but he was such an innovator. I'm reading this from Wikipedia. Donahue's shows often focus on issues that divide liberals and conservatives in the United States, such as abortion, consumer protection, civil rights, and war issues. His most frequent guest was Ralph Nader, for whom Donahue campaigned in 2000. That wasn't such a good look there. Going after the Donahue and the Ralph Nader. We got a little issues here. Little problems with the Ralph Nader there, sir. He's one of the most, corrupt, if not, could be corrupted people who ever came upon the American stage. He didn't have any idea of what the producer was about. He always said for the consumer, the consumer. Well, where's the producer in all this? If you have a consumption component, there has to be a productive component. So why is it all about the consumer? I have to protect the consumer protection. Why is that even brought up when it should be producer protection? The producer should be protected. They're the ones creating these products and making these different services. They're responsible for it. I'm going to get my own advertising right now. Go to my page, vocal.media/fiction/vessel control part 2, and you will find my story, which I wrote all by myself on my lonely. And definitely check it out and definitely share it once you're finished with it, and read it again and then share it again. So I would appreciate it. That's in the top part of the top chat. If you're on, your personal computer or your MacBook or your Apple product, whatever it may be, your tablet. I guess it does show like this. I don't know, but I would imagine it does. But anyway, that's a little advertisement for today. I haven't been hustling like I used to hustle, and I got 8 views for today. We'll see what happens tomorrow when the pure views change. Let me see. Okay, so Donahue shows. Okay. Here goes. Donahue also briefly. Okay, so it's MSNBC from July 2002 to March 2003. Donahue was one of the most influential talk show hosts. Was often referred to the king of daytime talk. Oprah Winfrey has said, if it weren't for Phil Donahue, there would never have been an Oprah show. In 1996, Donahue was ranked number 42 on TV Guide's 50 greatest TV stars of all time. And he'll always be remembered for his white hair. I don't know when he had, any other color hair, unless it was kind of grayish, but mostly white. But he kind of reminds me of God damn, he had 5 kids. Oh. But yeah, he was married to Marlo Thomas for 44 years. She's gorgeous back in She was that girl in 1966. So Marlo Thomas, she may be older now, but she was quite the look, and she was a looker in her day. She received. I'm talking about her. I did her career. Three primetime Emmy awards, a daytime Emmy award, and a Golden Globe and a Peabody Award for her work in television. Has been inducted into the Broadcast and Cable Hall of Fame. So that's the kind of woman he was looking for. That's the kind of understanding that I like to think about when you choose a mate, somebody that's like on your level or close to your level, and you can have similar discussions with each other, and you can understand each other better because you're in, such a state of being and a state of understanding what drives both of you. Ayn Rand even said that about a romantic partner. It says like you're on a trip on, maybe I think she said if you're in bicycles or you're in a car and you're traveling down the same road together, and even though you're in different vehicles, you're traveling together, and that's what makes the whole point of being together so valid and so poignant. So here's more about Phil Donahue. He had a 29-year run, 26 years in syndication, and nearly 7,000 one-hour daily shows. The final original episode of Donahue aired on September 13th, 1996. So I was like 6 or 7 when I watched him, and then I was 8 years old when he finished. But yeah, he's an innovator. He's a pioneer. It was just as close as May 2024, May of this year, that he was presented with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. We can talk about the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Medal of Honor later. We'll talk about that some other time. He had a long illness, he said. They didn't specify what his illness was. He was a Catholic, but he said in his own words, I was not a very good Catholic. I guess that, part of the reason why, he had so many different varied guests on his show. He had, like I said, atheists and Bible thumpers, and I think he had, Muslims and, all kinds of people on the show. He was awarded 20 Daytime Emmy Awards, winning 8 for Outstanding Talk Show Host, as well as receiving both a Special Recognition Award in 1993 and a Lifetime Achievement Award in 1996. He received the Peabody Award in 1980 and was inducted into the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Hall of Fame on November 20th, 1993. In 1987, he received the Maggie Award, highest honor of the Planned Parenthood Federation, in tribute to the founder, Margaret Sanger. If we talk about Margaret Sanger, we got to talk about Sir Francis Dalton. That was the originator of eugenics. And if you talk about Margaret Sanger, a lot of people want to say, "Oh, Margaret Sanger, she originated eugenics and stuff like that." No, get it right. So he started out. He's born in Cleveland, Ohio. Another fine American from Ohio. I don't know what it is about that state, but they just produce some of the best people, and just all around, interesting people, figures. Even if they're not, the best people in terms of morality, they definitely represent the idea of being, notables. Their notoriety is very evident. So I want you to keep on smoking on your loud packs. I know the DNC convention is going on. Did I say DNC convention? That's Democratic National Convention convention. The DN convention, I guess you can say. I don't know. The Democratic National Convention is on underway, I believe. I think the president's either going to be talking soon or is talking now. But he just met with the president in May. He must have had, a serious illness, obviously, to take him out of here. It's a shame. It really is, because in the article, Deadline, like I said, they misconstrued the whole affair. He said, here's the line from here's the quote from Deadline. In one particularly memorable 1979 episode, he defended an audience member who dared criticize a surly, I love that, she's surly, okay, Ayn Rand, who called the woman impolite and a hippie. And then it goes on to say, this is the kind of woman we spent a long time trying to attract to our audience. Donahue told the rudely dismissive Rand. Rudely dismissive. Ayn Rand is rudely dismissive, but the woman that she was talking to was being impolite and uncourteous and disrespectful. But she's rudely and dismissive, and this is a part of the culture that is sad. They dismiss Ayn Rand. They denigrate Ayn Rand. They treat her like she's, some kind of some street urchin, or some troll that crawled out from the bowels of some disgusting and hovel or something. And she is just the opposite. She was composed, courteous, and respectful during the entire interview. She had to raise her voice sometimes. Okay. So what? Didn't mean she was being disrespectful. She just had to make her point clear. And with clarity, she did. She spoke with very much clarity. She let it be known what her ideas were and what she stood for. Without her, being so strong and not surly, like, really surly? Is that the best adjective you can come up with? It's a shame, but the 1980 one was kind of funny. It was like she was like, they were talking about how Jimmy Carter, how he smiled so much, and how the question how the question came up, how Donahue phrased his question, how he said, you want a strong leader, you want a strong type, but a leader that can also be very together and happy in victory and everything like that, and can and I think joyous in victory, I think his words are, I'm paraphrasing, but she was like and she was like, I don't think we have to worry about that with this current president, because he smiled so much, he was always seemed like he was like joyous or something like that, but she said it was kind of like a nervous tick. It was like a nervous smile. It wasn't like a true, authentic smile. And then she kind of had like that. And she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot him on television." And then Donnie was just like, "Well, don't forget you're on television." He was just like jousting with her, going back and forth, and it just both of those interviews, really, they can, like people say, they changed my life. He even said on one of the broadcasts, "The Fountainhead changed my life. Atlas Shrugged changed my life." These are the kind of stories that Ayn Rand concocted, that created, made, built. She brought them into existence. She brought them to reality. And those are the kind of things that people say. How many times you hear people say, "Oh, that book changed my life. It completely changed how I look at things." There are a few books out there that do say that, but nothing like Fountainhead and Atlas. and her other books, We Living and Anthem, definitely set a tone. But Donahue was so smart. Donahue was a thinker. He understood, how to phrase the question, how to, see what her response would be, and not talk all over her. He wasn't like Jerry Springer or Robert. What was his name? I can't remember. He had a Morton Downey Jr. I don't think there's any relationship to Robert Downey Jr., but I could be wrong. I don't think they're related to Robert Downey anyway. Yeah, I don't think there's any relation. But no, this wasn't Morton Downey Jr. This wasn't Jerry Springer. This was actual, let me talk to these people, in a way and he had interviews with people that had AIDS. He had people that had multiple sclerosis. I think I'm just guessing, but I definitely know he met with people who were gay, that were straight, that were of all black, white, brown, red, yellow, everybody, all stripes. Didn't matter. It was he didn't care about their flesh. He didn't care about their skin tone. He cared about their ideas. He cared about their thoughts. He cared about what they were thinking about. What was on their minds. That was like the hallmark of his entire career. The fact that he wanted to explore ideas. That was a tremendous boost to him. And it may have cost him, viewers. It may have cost him. Some of it said, "Oh, I can't watch this. I don't want to, entertain this." Definitely with the show with MSNBC, he didn't do too well, so it tanked. But he did very well for himself for what was it, close to 30 years or more. That's a tremendous run. 30, 29, 30 years. That's an excellent run. And to reap all those benefits, all those awards and accolades. He wasn't great because of the awards and accolades. He got awards and accolades because he was great. Like I said, smoke your loud packs now for Phil Donahue, because he was a white man in America who made millions of dollars and lived a great life to the age of 88. That's cool. That's a good run. Anywhere in the 80 to hundreds range, that's a good run. Even 70s, but he went to 88. That's a pretty good run. Definitely a good run. And then he was with his wife of 44 years. Come on, like you gotta be serious. You kidding me? That's a beautiful mark. That's a beautiful way of saying how, and I was just wondering about. I looked him up. I was like, is he alive? Is he alive? And this is a few months ago. I was like, how's he doing? Okay, he's still alive. I didn't notice that he had an illness. But he was still alive at the time. Obviously, when I looked him up, but not, of course, today, the reports have come out, and he was just an innovator and a pioneer. And innovators and pioneers don't do well usually. They're usually broke. They're usually, misunderstood. They're usually, like Ayn Rand said, the man, thousands of years ago. I'm paraphrasing, but the man who discovered fire was probably burned at the stake that he taught his brothers to light. I think I got the exact quote on that. But that just shows you what happens to greatness, to great achievers. They're damned not because of their vices, but because of their virtues. That's the age of envy in which we currently live. Especially, we live in a serious age of envy that damns the producer and the great idea and the wonderful one who created it. But once the product, once to enjoy the product and eat it or take it or use it as fuel, but damn it in the same way, that's moral cannibalism. I think that's what I've tried to look for the exact definition of what moral cannibalism is, but I think they did explain it one time. One of the Ayn Rand Institute intellectuals. I think they actually did break it down to me one time. What a moral cannibal is, but I think a moral cannibal is something like, you have a person that is a producer, you have somebody that is very creative and wonderful and moral and great, and then you attack them for that greatness, you attack them for that wonderfulness for them, and you want them to produce for you. You want them to produce their whatever product or service they have, even though you hate them. That's moral cannibalism, I think. I think that's what moral cannibalism is. But yeah, so this tonight is all about Phil Donahue. So smoke your packs right now, smoke your loud packs. Get in the groove, get an understanding of who he was and what he stood for, what he was about. Take on the role of an investigator, what Ayn Rand called a philosophical detective, and look into those interviews on YouTube. They're available. Last time I checked, 1979 and 1982 and 1980. I always want to say 1982. 1979 and 1980. I mean, and then I'm not going to spoil too much. It doesn't matter to me if you spoil it, but I don't want to spoil it for somebody else. But there was almost another contentious moment in the 1980 interview where a woman got up. I'm gonna say a little bit of it. She just said, "I used to read your books and I really like them, but now I'm older and wiser, and I don't have to read. I don't read your books anymore. I don't subscribe to your ideology anymore." I'm paraphrasing, but is that not an insult? That's like a very serious, low blow, punch in the gut insult. You're saying that your work, your life, your everything that you created means nothing to me, and I don't want anything to do with you. Why are you here? Why are you on my show? Why come to my show and tell me that to my in front of this audience and the audience at home, when you could have kept that to yourself? Now, Ayn Rand wasn't, afraid of criticism or anything like that, but that wasn't even criticism. That was just showing her that she was completely inept and and the woman was completely, without understanding of what her Ayn Rand's ideas truly were and truly are. She had no clue. She couldn't. So she had to stand up and say, "Well, I don't read your books anymore. I'm older and wiser." Like, that's paraphrasing, but really, you go on, you go to the show, you buy a ticket, you're going to talk to her, and you're going to get up and then say a statement like that. He was like, and then Donahue was, he's quick. He was quick. He was like a little bit of deja vu or something like that. It was like, kind of reminds you, what happened last time. But that was a great way of how Donahue handled it. He handled it. One specific point was towards the end of the show. Towards the end of the show, he said he was talking about how Ayn Rand recently lost her husband, Frank O'Connor. And he discussed, he was like, he was very delicate. He wasn't like trying to grill her, or he wasn't trying to like, get a gotcha moment from her or anything like that. He was just saying like, now does this, the passing of your husband, did that change any of your ideals about, the nature of God and of heaven or anything like that? And she just shook her head no. And I'm paraphrasing, but she said essentially, if there was a point where I could kill myself and then go to heaven and then stand before Saint Peter and tell him how good Frank O'Connor was to her and in life as a man. That would be extraordinary. That would be extraordinary. But she knows too much. She knows much better. She knows that cannot happen. She knew that wouldn't stand. That was not rational. But and then he kind of like he put his hand on her hand and was like, I wasn't trying to be too overbearing. I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, I wasn't trying to be overbearing or trying to be in any way. And she knew that too. She knew that he was a great questioner, a great interviewer, and definitely showed it in his candor and his honesty and the way that he portrayed himself. That was the pinnacle of his show. That was the pinnacle. So Phil Donahue, dead at 88. He's gone. Hey, niggas die every day, B. I'm gonna die one day, and it's gonna be like nigga dead. Put him in the oven. Put him in that crematorium, I think is the proper name. The crematorium. Let him blaze. Fire him up. You kill him, we chill and grill him. That's how it is. That's life. We all gotta die. Every one of us. Every person that's coming into this room, leaving this room, the people in this house. Every one of us has got to die one day. But instead of saying all of your goodbyes, let them know that you realize that life moves fast. It's hard to let the good things last. You realize the sun don't go down. It's just an illusion caused by the world spinning around. Now, tell me what band said that line, and I will give you a wrench. You give me the name of the band that said that line, I'll give you a wrench. If you put it into the live chat right now, I'll give you a wrench. Whoever says it first. There's 2 people watching it. Not 2 people in the live chat, though. But yeah, so yeah, that's destiny. That's life. Everybody has that's the destiny. That's not like the mystical sense of destiny, like you're preordained to do something. It's just that the fact that you live your life, like my uncle. My uncle on his on the cards that read his it was on his obituary on his program said, I was born, I lived, I died. Like that is, it's almost philosophical. It might be just philosophical. You come to this world, you're in the world, then you're out of this world. And before you can even think, really. Because time just moves. I'm 36 years old. I got some time left, I think. But like his son, Phil Donahue's son, died of, hold on, let me see exactly what it was called. It was he died of a ruptured aortic aneurysm at the age of 51, his son. Now, how the hell does that happen? Is that because of his diet? Is that because of, what is Jesus didn't like, the fact that he was living the way he was living? Allah didn't like the fact the way he was living? And they called it, hold on. Let me make sure I get it right. Ruptured aortic aneurysm. How does that even happen? And it can be prevented. Causes. This section is empty. God damn. Ain't that a bitch? Doesn't tell you any causes, mechanism, diagnosis, prevention, or treatment. Up to 90% of cases end in death. That's a high number. That is seriously high. And he died when he was 51. The son died when he was 51. But so we have to, consider all these things to be of facts, of be of truth. Okay, I got 4 likes for some reason. Just got 4 likes. Just like bloop, just hit there. It was 1 like. Now it's 2 people viewing. But yeah. So that's a key moment. That's a major key alert. 88. 88 is that's a hell of a number. That's a good run. White man in America and with millions of dollars and a beautiful wife. Shit, I ain't dropping 1 tear for him. But I will respect him as a pioneer and an innovator and a great man that I could tell. I never met him personally. I can't say if he was a great man personally or not. But random nihilus. Nobody cares about Phil Donahue. So why are you here? That you're like the lady that stood up and said, "I don't listen to the book. I don't read your books anymore." So why are you here, random? Why are you here? Just a troll? I'm here because your name ring bells on another channel. True, facts. But you don't have to be here if you don't care about Phil Donahue. The whole show is about Phil Donahue. I reserved the entire hour giving this white man his credit because he deserves it. I'm not going to cry over him. Can't cry over the white man, especially, like I said, had a long life, 88 years, had a beautiful wife, had money in the bank. He had it together. He just had an illness. That's it. If that's what you'd like to consider me as, I will be a troll. Yes, you are a troll. You're a troll. And I'm not going to stop you. It's better to be hated than loved because they hate lasts longer. I think you meant the hate. But yeah, that's true. So you can say all you want. I'm not going to kick you out. You're welcome here. You're welcome to hate. I just wanted to know why you were here. If you didn't care about Phil Donahue. Now I have 0 viewers and 4 likes. And I'm not on my phone. If I was on my phone, I might have 4,000 people, 4,000 and 4,000 likes. But so Phil Donahue was definitely an innovator and a pioneer. That's all it is. You better not. It's just the 2 of us. Well, yeah, it is. Now it's just the 2 of us. 1 person in here. Now you're gone again. So it's 0. And I better not. That's not a better not for my show. That's a better not for you, sir. You better not. This is the power of Phil Donahue. This is the mic that he wielded. This is the greatness that he showed. And it was a wonderful thing that he had a show, a platform that was just simple question and answers. It was like wasn't really like special effects and I don't think he had too many performances. He might have had a few performances, but for the most part, it was just let me ask you a question, see if you answer it. Okay, random. I'm just gonna say random. I can't. It's either pronounced Nihilus or spelled out Nihilus. Well, if you don't want to interact with me, I'll take my attention elsewhere. But you have a good night, sir, and remember who I am, so that we can get some views next time. Well, I didn't say anything. I totally said you're welcome here. Did you miss that? I just wanted to know why you were here. It's all about Phil Donahue. But you are certainly welcome here. And you're welcome to leave. I'm not going to push you out. I'm not going to sit you in timeout. I'm not going to block you. You're totally welcome, Random. Totally, and you're welcome to let other people in on the show. If you're talking about views. I get more views when I have more people tell about the show. If you find it to be of quality. All right, so I gave 45 minutes to Phil Donahue. That's a good long time. I'm gonna talk about my story. Vessel Control Part 2. It's on vocal.media. If you go to Vessel Control and Vessel Control Part 2, you can read both stories. It was the original, then the sequel. The sequel consists of a rear admiral on a spacecraft, the Diamond Cutter. He is with a captain, Melita Vereen, and they are both drifting through space, essentially. And he is on his 35th anniversary of when he first came into the fleet, and he is definitely worthy of praise, worthy of honor, worthy of respect. And he sees himself as someone who can, project, greatness. He's been in a lot of, tussles and tangles, but he's never fired his weapons in anger, even though they were on the ship. They never had any, it was not like Star Wars or even sometimes I think Star Trek. I think Star Trek, of course, had, different battles, but mostly their role was to save other ships from falling into different orbits and crashing into the landscape. Here he is, of course, finally, Rick James. I'm smoking my Phil Donahue pack today. He was a genius, sir. Salute. In a sense, I guess you can be right. He was a genius in terms of daytime television. He was a genius. He was a genius, not like the genius, like Ayn Rand. She was one of the geniuses of all time. But he was a genius of daytime talk, definitely. He pioneered something that I don't think he really was in existence. I think he was one of the first, besides like Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace had his different interview shows, but before an audience, broadcast, throughout the land, that was basically what Phil Donahue had presented. I don't like 3 late night streams, sir. I miss my 4 o'clock lunch streams. Well, you got to get used to them because I'm experimenting. I'll do another experiment. I'll see about the 4 o'clock stream and see how many people I can get. He's a genius in daytime talk, up there with Ellen or Dr. Phil and Rosie O'Donnell. And they all had their problems. They all have their issues. And I could go in and rip all of them apart. But yeah, so they definitely, had the architecture was built by Phil Donahue. He built the structure and the framework for the Rosie O'Donnells, the Ellen DeGeneres, the Phil what's her name? Jennifer Hudson, Drew Barrymore, Tamron Hall, Montel Williams, even Jerry Springer and Morton Downey Jr. They had to have the structure of a talk show like Phil Donahue, even though they didn't have the flavor, they didn't have the exact idea of it. Without Phil Donahue, there would be no Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel, no James Gordon. Well, that's late night. That's not daytime. That's late night. They wouldn't be around for because of Jack Parr and of course Johnny Carson. That's the reason why there's Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and James Gordon. Well, we just disagree, sir. I'm right and you're wrong. I'm big and you're small. But yeah, so I'm advertising my story on here today. Hopefully you'll be able to pick it, digitally pick it up and read it, enjoy it, and understand the reason why what happened. I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to spoil it. But Phil Donahue definitely was a great man, a giant in daytime television. Have you thought and this is Rick James, have you thought in making printed copies of your story and giving them to your local library? Good exposure. Well, that takes a lot because I would have to copyright. It's copywritten, it's copyrighted. Excuse me, copyrighted. Once I publish it, it's in my name. But I don't know if it's the same when it's in a like a form like that. And I would want it to be, in a book form. I want it to be published by the Library of Congress and not fall out of circulation or out of copyright standing. So that's the difference. That's the difference. And once again, Rick James. Well, it keeps going 1 and 2 right now, but you are the one of two that I appreciate for being in here. Like I said, if there's nobody else in here, there's gonna be Rick James. So I definitely appreciate that, sir. And I did not get a chance to see what is it, Peter and Tweeter. I did not get a chance to see Peter and Tweeter or whatever it's called. I will get a chance to see that maybe later on tonight. But no, I have not seen Peter and Tweeter. I know that's one of your goofy, weird, spaced out public access shows. But that was like with Don. I think Mr. Choice Dr. Rain was on Donahue one time. I never seen the interview. I never seen it on the internet. I don't know if it's lost media, but it could be in the archive somewhere. Mr. Choice Dr. Rain and Miss Rand is obviously on there. She has both her interviews on YouTube. So that's what I'm probably gonna check out a little later. There's a lot. Everything is a lot. There's a lot of attention, but I want it to go to my story. I want your attention to be on my story. Vessel Control Part 2. To understand it, to see the difference and reality of it. You should publish all your books into one expanded anthology book, sir. I like the suggestion, but I don't think I can do that just yet. I want to get a lawyer. I want to get a accountant. I want to get all the proper people in line. You can't just jump out and do something. Oh, I want to put a book together. The only thing you can do that is like with YouTube and Vocal and other platforms like that, because it automatically becomes copyright material, becomes your copyrighted work. So if there's a will, then there's a way. Yeah, but I need a will and a last testament. That's what I really need. No point in copyright. It all ends up in the hands of public domain anyway. Well, yeah, when I'm dead. I mean, and if that's the case, I think when Ayn Rand was alive, Anthem fell into public domain. I think that's what happened. I think when she was alive, it did, because they it was published in England actually. I think in 1938. So I think that was the case. Yeah. So I have 4 likes and 3 viewers right now. So I appreciate every person that's watching, even though it goes down to 2. two viewers. I know one is Rick James, but my story is like I don't struggle. I mean, maybe that's a bad thing. I don't like earn like fight against the page and what's on my screen and what I can write down. I don't like say, oh, I'm having a I got the squirms, as Ayn Rand would put it, or I have what they call writer's block. I don't get writer's block, and I think that's a hoax. I think that's an imposter. I think that's an imposter. When I said this before, because there are dozens, hundreds, thousands, millions, maybe even close to billions of novels and art and nonfiction and other kind of books published in existence. And every year, I think there's like 100,000 to a million published, or even more. I don't even know if my numbers are correct. Rick James says Paul McCartney said he never got writer's block because he's never thinks about it, and he's written like 1,000 songs. I can see that. I can understand that. And the best thing is he makes great songs. He doesn't just make, trash. He makes catchy, very, well-structured songs. He's the second wealthiest musician in the world. Who's the first? Anybody know? Does anybody know who the second wealthiest musician in the first wealthiest musician in the world is? Get to Googling or Bing or Ask Jeeves. Oh, here he goes. P. Diddy and R. Kelly. Hell no. Not even close. But I will do my advertisements at the end now. Okay, so my main man, Peng, he has lifestrongapparel.com. So he has fitness gear and sea moss infused with fruit. I tried the blueberry. It's banging, which is a good thing. You don't realize my slang. But he also has mango. I've not tried that, but I'm looking forward to one day. Also, and that tell him that Peng that the goofy guy Skylar Saunders sent you. Also, go to BEEJACKSON 5478 B Jackson on YouTube.com. He's got near beer. He rates. He has sardines on the grill. He has fried chicken, and he's a great conversationalist and just an all-around great humorous kind of guy. Never met him personally, but on the internet, he's a great guy. Tell him that the goofy guy Skylar Saunders sent you. Also, Spirit Smooth Tunes, SPIRITSMOOTHTUNES on YouTube. If you like Najee, if you like Whitney Houston, if you like Kim, if you like the Fatback Band, Gap Band, Earth, Wind, and Fire, this is the catalog for you. Go to Spirit Smooth Tunes on YouTube. Tell them the goofy guy Sky Sender sent you. Also, Dot Focus, twitch.tv/DOTFOCUS1_, just a single underscore. He has a great eye for killing people digitally, not real life, in a video game. He has a sniper rifle. He has a machine gun. He's got all kinds of different tools to make him go on to the next stage of the game. So I definitely appreciate him. He's been a great contributor. They've all been great contributors to this platform. So I also would say go to twitch.tv/.focus_. And if you would like to, and tell him that the goofy guy Skylar Saunders sent you. And if you would like to sponsor and advertise on this show, go to SkylerSaunders@gmail.com. SkylerSaunders@gmail.com. And also make sure that you take into account that you can be part of the 100 Club, Skyler's 100 Club. That's $100 a month. Height is the only one that's participating so far. He gave up $100 in May. In June, he gave $70 in July, but he came back on August with I think it was August 1st actually with $100. So I appreciate him. Tell him that the goofy guy Skylar Saunders. I want to be like you, Hype, because of the goofy guy Skylar Saunders. I'm gonna give $100 a month. So be like that. So I'd like to thank everybody that came in, especially and not only Rick James. He's always somebody that's always respecting and supporting this brand. So definitely do that. Assistant always comes in late when I'm about to get off the air, when I'm about to sign off. Phil Donahue. If you're talking about who, you have to smoke a loud pack to him because he was a great interviewer. He was one of the pioneers of daytime talk. Just question and interview. Yay, I see sign. The late great Phil, yeah. Well, take care, sir. I'm about to check out too. So it's been real. I appreciate everybody. Thank you for coming through. And I will see you sometime tomorrow. Take care and salute.